Alright, Gen 9 is almost around the corner at this point, and I wanted to make a video about my 10 biggest wishes I got for the new games. Also on a side note, I haven't watched any trailers besides the first one, and I of course heard some stuff from people I know, but that's it. My first wish is gonna be something that everyone already complained about, but I didn't, so now it's my time to complain about. I would like to see difficulty modes. We had them in Black and Black and White 2, but we never got them since. And when I say we got them in Black and White, I don't mean I want them how we got them in Black and White. For those who don't know, in Black and White you had the option to set your game to hard mode if you wanted, but only after you beated the game, which kinda removes the point in it, but nevertheless. I think this mode is much needed for several reasons. And the first big reason for me at least is that while Pokemon's target audience is young enough to not need a hard mode, there are enough older players who would like a somewhat less easy experience when they play through their games. I think such a mode would add a new dimension to the games, and while it won't give you a challenging experience, I do think it would give you a new experience, and that's why I think we need a hard mode. I think that would be pretty cool to see. My second wish for the new games are more rare or difficult to catch Pokemon. I don't really know how to explain this, but I would just like to see some more rare Pokemon that are not legendaries, but would require the same effort to get them, I guess is the way of saying it. And when I say the same effort as a legendary, I don't mean the modern version. I mean the old way of getting a legendary, where you would need to traverse the region and find some obscure places to solve some admittedly not so hard puzzles, but nevertheless, to get the Pokemon. My biggest problem with the Pokemon games, and especially the more recent ones, is that Pokemon don't really hold any value, since I could just go out there and catch a box full of a certain Pokemon type in around 20 minutes, I guess, if I wanted to, which makes it I just don't really care all that much about the Pokemon I catch. I think this would also somewhat bring back the gotta catch them all feeling, which Pokemon has been slowly losing over the years, for me at least. And you could take this even further and make them unbreedable to make sure they are rare. I think that would also be pretty cool to see since, Pokemon's all about catching Pokemon. For my third wish, I would love to see some good battle facilities, or at least one. This is probably the thing I want the most for the new games, hands down. And I also don't just want your regular basic battle facility or even something like the Battle Frontier from Emerald. I would like to see an actual challenging facility. I mean, don't get me wrong, it doesn't have to rival Pokemon Showdown or anything, but I would like to see NPCs that use actual strategies and competitive basics. For example, entry hazards for the singles mode and speed control for the doubles mode. I would like to see NPCs that not only switch around Pokemon, but I want them to predict switches. And I want them to use actual teams instead of a jumbled mess, which it normally is. I also want there to be a cool final boss trainer at the end after a certain amount of wins or something like that, who might also have a little bit of a backstory, at least. The way of saying it, I guess, is be an actual character, not some random strong trainer. I want a cool character to fight at the end of a certain win streak. I think this would make me spend so much more time in-game than on something like Pokemon Showdown. And I also think this would make the jump from just in-game Pokemon to competitive Pokemon so much smaller, which would be good for not only VGC but Pokemon as a whole in my opinion. And my fourth wish is again also related to competitive Pokemon, or at least Pokemon battles. I would love to see a status rework. What I mean by that are the statuses Pokemon can get in battle, like burn, sleep, paralysis, etc. I personally think they really need a rework. I mean, sleep is just downright broken, especially with stuff like Spore existing. I think I would actually rather get Oko than put to sleep, since not only will you just die in those 2-3 turns, you also give the opponent time to set up or do whatever, and you can't get a new Pokemon in without a cost to put some offensive pressure on them. And the same goes for Freeze, that's also broken, but everyone already knows that. I think what Legends Arceus did was actually the perfect way to handle it, where those statuses made you not just a sitting duck, but gave you something that's more close to paralysis, which I think would be the right move to make for Game Freak going forward. For number 5, I would really, but then I mean really, want to see bigger and more detailed towns and cities, which for some reason is getting less and less with the more recent games. I think that's actually kind of strange, since you would expect the opposite. The games are running on better and stronger consoles and hardware. I mean, let's take Gen 5 for example. There are so many little extras in towns and cities to explore that are just not really all that necessary to be there, but they can just add so much in terms of world building, and just the whole point of Pokemon, which is to adventure and explore. In Black and White you had the Furbank Complex, the Pokestar Studios, that weird area at the bottom of the map which you could visit as soon as you had Surf. Actually the other half of the map when you finish the game. A sewer system to explore beneath Castelia City, and the list keeps going on. And I would also like the settlements themselves to be bigger, so it actually feels like a city. I think both Unova and Kalos did an amazing job with their main city. Again, something that everyone already complained about and talked about, but I would really like to see a strong, or at least not a pushover rifle like the past ones. I dislike everything about the new rifles for all the wrong reasons. Normally that's kind of the point of the rifle, to be dislikable but also challenging. But these new rifles are dislikable because they are always happy, they always have that happy attitude, and they are the absolute opposite of being somewhat of a challenge. I mean, the whole point of a rifle is to rifle you, but they are at this point the easy mandatory battle once in a while, which I really don't want to see with the new games. I get why they don't want a new blue character for several reasons, but I think the two main reasons that they don't want a rifle that's like blue is they don't want a bully in the newer games, and also it would detract, I think at least, a bit of blue's specialness. You know, the first rifle, it needs to stay, it needs to stay special. But I don't see a reason why they can't take the route that they took with U and N, which, by the way, is often forgotten as a rifle, because N is actually your rifle in Black and White. A lot of people seem to forget that. To start off with U is not mean or a bully in any way, but he is still a challenge and is basically the essence of a rifle, since his whole thing is to rifle you. And I think that works fine. That's good enough for me. And on the other hand has his own storyline going on, which I think is really cool. Because now you're not the only main character, and both storylines connect at the end, which I think they did pretty good. I think they should go with one of those two routes if they are gonna make a cool rifle again. For number 7 I don't really have that much to say, besides that I just want to see Luker make a return. Luker has been a staple for the main series games since Generation 4. For some reason he hasn't reappeared in Galar, which kinda bothers me. I remember when playing the game and after I finished it, I kept looking for him, thinking when will he appear in the story or endgame, only to find out he wasn't there, and neither was there an endgame, by the way. But I mean, it's not that much to ask, it's just a character. Character, I don't know what's going on with me. Either way, if they bring him back, I really hope they expand on that story that started to pick up in RS and Sun and Moon, and or do something like they did in Kalos with that whole detective bureau. That was hands down one of the cooler mission type things in Pokemon, no doubt. This one is going to sound somewhat repetitive, but I want a fleshed out endgame, and a good one at that. I think this might be my biggest problem with the newer games. Their endgame just sucks, and that's if there even is one. I think in some aspects the endgame is actually more important than the main story, or whatever you wanna call it. It's the place where you're gonna spend the most time in-game if you are a big Pokemon fan. And it can add so much more replayability to the games, but more importantly, it makes the games more immersive, which is something the new games lack severely. Pokemon has done a great job in making a wonderful world with stories and cool places with all sorts of details, but I feel like that's getting less and less with the newer games, and especially with Sword and Shield. I mean, I want nooks and crannies to explore, I want actual mythical events and not a mystery gift. I want to be able to traverse the region and find new stuff which I didn't find before or was locked away or whatever. I want cool events and missions, and the list goes on. I'm taking back what I said about the battle facility being the thing I want the most. This is probably what I want the most. For number 9, I would really love to see some cool information about the Pokemon world. I guess is the way of saying it, since I don't want to call it canon or lore. But as I previously said, Pokemon did a great job at world building with a lot of cool stories, events, etc. But again, I feel like that's somewhat getting less and less. And I know I said that a lot of times now, but still. Let's take Sword and Shield for example, and the Darkest Day. I mean, it was going somewhere, but then it just kinda stopped. I mean, I can tell you in about 10-ish seconds what it was about. It's about a big Pokemon coming down from the heavens and radiating out some sort of energy who brought the whole region in a state of imbalance, and that's why Pokemon can Dynamax. But, he got defeated. And that's it. I want a story that has more to it than that. I want some smaller stories where you really gotta look for, which also flesh out the world a bit more. I think that would be nice to see. Number 10 is the only number I wasn't really sure of how I would like to see it implemented myself, but I would like to see more online player interactions. What I mean by that is not the trading stuff and finding battles, although that could also do with a little bit of an update. No, what I mean by this is some sort of way to join each other in a Pokemon world, and have some extra part of the map maybe that would look in terms of layout a bit like Legends Arceus, as in mainly nature and not a lot of urbanization. I don't mean a whole new game. And you could just go online, visit that place and just explore, and you might find some people who will want to battle you or trade with you or whatever. Or maybe there are some parts of the map that you can only explore in co-op, or maybe add some little place you can customize yourself. Some sort of a big camp you can set up and other players could visit and buy stuff from you in your camp. You get the idea. But there is one massive problem with this, and that's the same problem that goes for almost every wish I have. It's a kids game, and therefore it can't be too difficult, it can't be too detailed and expensive. That's the wrong choice of words here. It doesn't matter. Either way, in general, it can't be too detailed, too, difficult. And most importantly, you need to guard the child friendliness very closely. Especially in a game that there's a lot of older people playing it, but also younger players. So far, Nintendo and Game Freak have done a great job at that, and I'm completely for it. And I think it's also very important, but it also sometimes gets in the way of making a grander game on a bigger scale. But nevertheless, I think that if Nintendo is willing to free the budget for it, and Game Freak is willing to put in the extra effort in, I think it's doable. I think that's actually also all I have to say about this, and I hope you have a nice day.